Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Jay Wise and Nathan Drinkard. I'm your host, Cody Ward. Thank you for spending some of your time with us tonight. Now, as a reminder to all our listeners, besides being on all your favorite podcast platforms, A Drink of Wisdom is also on YouTube with each show segment available. Head on over, and if you like what you hear, we would appreciate your subscription. What's going on, guys? Big weekend stuff to get to, right?
Yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of football. It's all football today. Let's do it.
I like it.
Let's talk some sports, baby. You know what it is. Go and pull up a seat. You know we gotta speak. Let's roll, baby.
All right, in episode 10, Baker gets benched. The Dolphins turn to Tua, and the tide is rolling. Let's begin tonight with a Monday Night Football massacre. The Dallas Cowboys are boat raced out of Jerry World 38-10, and the first full game without Dak Prescott. The Cardinals jumped out to a quick lead thanks to Ezekiel Elliott fumbles and barely got on the board before halftime. The Cardinals poured it on in the second half, dominating both sides of the ball and stifled any comeback attempt. The Cardinals improved to 4-2 and remain in a tight NFC West race. Meanwhile, the Cowboys inexplicably remain in first place in the NFC East, I guess because, well, they're in the NFC East. So, Jay, obviously the national story is the Cowboys, so, what's up with them? But also, we got to give this Cardinals team some love, right?
Yeah, we gotta give the Cardinals some respect. They deserve it so far. They're off to a solid start, 4-2. I think all of us had some sort of a notion that we felt the Cardinals could be a team on the rise. I think they're a little ahead of the pace that we thought they might be. I didn't quite see them in the playoff hunt this season, and there's still a lot of games to be played, so we don't know how they'll continue to fare. And we know how tough the NFC West has been so far with Seattle off to their great start. The Rams look pretty good as well, and despite injuries, 49ers, I don't believe we've seen the last of them. But they're playing well. And I think defensively is kind of where they've it's been a real surprise how competent they've been. And last night was probably the best performance they've had of the season. They really got after it. Did a really nice job of defending the running game, which the Cowboys probably should, look to rely on that a little more. But they've been pretty good. Kyler Murray had not a great night throwing the football. I mean, when you're just 9 of 24, that's nothing spectacular about that. But the 80-yard touchdown to Christian Kirk, that was an absolute dime. And he's got a world of upside. His running ability, I think outside of Lamar Jackson, you probably look at Kyler Murray as probably the second best, I think, running quarterback out there. He's just simply electric. He's seemingly untouchable. So they're doing well. You got to give Cliff Kingsbury a little credit as well. They appear to be headed on the right track, so good on them. Meanwhile, on the other side, but what a contrast. The Cardinals could be doing that well at 4-2, and you can still be, out of the playoff, well, maybe somewhere. Bottom line, they're not in first place. That would be the Cowboys. Cowboys can, they can just continue to look putrid in mostly all areas. But you could be 2-4, you could be at first place. So I'm not even sure what the problem is. You could go, 6-10 and win this division, perhaps.
I know what the problem is.
Yeah.
The
anyway,
division sucks. That's the problem.
That is. Division is very bad. You know what? Well, we'll get to Thursday Night Football a little bit later. That's going to be. I can't wait till Friday when we do that game. Dallas, you know what? At least before this game, the one thing we could say about Dallas, at least they could score. They could they could put some points on the board. Well, they couldn't even do that last night. I'm still of the mindset. Andy Dalton can play in this offense. I don't think it's that big a drop off between Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton. I don't. But last night, It's not one of those situations where I can really lean too heavily on that argument because they were atrocious last night. And you know, one of the things I looked at, because you look at Zeke last night, Zeke carried the ball 12 times, 49 yards. He lost 2 fumbles. At one point, I think he was taken out of the game for Tony Pollard. I think that was by design. But the Cowboys formula to me, and they got away from it last year right after they paid Zeke. And they decided, you know what, we're going to be a drop back, 40, 50 time passing game team rather than run the football, which seemingly since Dak and Zeke have entered the league together, they have been run first. And they're not run first anymore. And I just still don't understand that. But that is their problem. They don't have the right formula. And that's not – Mike McCarthy's never been a guy who has been a really run the ball type of guy. So they've continued to do what they did last season in Dallas. That's similar. That's kind of what Mike McCarthy's done for the majority of his coaching career. And it just doesn't seem to work. And especially when you consider how Dallas's defense is struggling, you would think a running game and maybe a little time of possession would be able to help those guys as well. They're just not doing it. So they got a lot of problems. And some of the stuff I'm seeing in the news today about players coming out and criticizing the coaching staff. Only 6 games into the season, and things are already falling apart on them. I never could have imagined things would go sideways this quickly. I mean, you got players coming out and saying that the coaches seem ill-prepared, they don't teach, and one player I believe said, anonymous of course, they just aren't very good at their jobs. I couldn't believe that when I read that. It seems like something that it would seem unfathomable that players this early would say this about a coach that has a Super Bowl on his resume. But it doesn't sound all that different to what we were hearing from Aaron Rodgers when whatever bombshell story broke from Bleacher Report or whatever site.
You talking about the massages during the meetings? You talking about that bombshell?
That might have been included in it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But this appears to be a disaster right now. There's just no getting around it. It's horrible. The only good thing about it is in first place, but even with that they can't feel comfortable because the minute Philly starts to resemble anything close to a football team, Dallas is going to be in serious trouble.
America's team, huh? Listen. First of all, let me go ahead and show some love to my killer C's, the Cardinals. I think I'd have picked the Cardinals in every game when we do our weekly picks. Outside of one, I think it was one obvious one. I'm like, yeah, you boys are out of here on that one. But listen, I got high hopes for the Cardinals. If you remember when we talked about these teams before the season, I said Kyler Murray come back for his second year, Cliff Kingsbury come back for the second year. They gave him a target with DeAndre Hopkins, and then they went out and got Dre Kirkpatrick to give Patrick Peterson somebody on the other side that could play some D. The defense don't look half bad. We seen that last night. The offense, they humming. The offensive line starting to come to fruition, I think. And Kyler Murray, what can you say? The guy was Mr. Texas 3 years in a row. He's like the best Texas football player to ever play football in Texas. Did I say Texas? Let's talk about Texas a little bit. The Dallas Cowboys probably the third best team in Texas behind the Houston Texans and the Texas Longhorns. And also, if they played in the Big 12, they'd probably be the third best team in the Big 12 behind the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners. That's neither here nor there. Here's the thing. Jared Jones think he could throw some money at this. I'm sorry, you can't, buddy. We seeing this monstrosity of a team. You're looking pretty lackluster on the big screen, all right? And you keep this up, we're going to have to go ahead and throw up the flag on America's team. Because how long do you get to flop around like this and live on the baby boomers and all those generations back in the day and call yourself America's team? At some point, we got to call BS on the play, and it's about to come up to that point. But I'm with you with your point when you say that it's not much of a difference between Prescott and Dalton. I agree with you. I've been beating that drum as well. I don't think it's much of a difference between them. But hey, it must be a difference between Jason Garrett and Mike McCarthy because hey, here's the deal. When Jason Garrett was around here flopping like this, he was the worst thing ever. Oh my God, this guy's terrible. This coaching is horrible. And then Mike McCarthy.
Who would have guessed that Jason Garrett would look competent at this point in the year compared to Mike McCarthy?
And I mean, who calling this defense? Is it still Rob, old man Rob back there? Because
I think it's Mike. I think it's Mike Nolan.
Oh, okay. So we got rid of.
But but you know what? He probably wishes you thought it was Rod still.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Last year it was get out with the old, come in with the new. We need to start fresh. Let's bring in these guys, and it looks like the same old bull boop, in a new rapping, if you ask me. And I don't want to hear the bull crap about. Oh well, Dak been hurt. Dak was hurt. This is the first game Dak missed. If I remember correctly, Andy Dalton came in and won the last game, because those Giants, they fight so hard and they come with so much thunder. You got to bring the 18 for those guys. You got to get up every game for those guys. And here you out here playing the Cardinals, a team that most of America's still trying to figure out if are they worth watching. And then you lay an egg like this on, shall I say, primetime TV, because, it was Monday night. And then Jared Jones would have come up here with some bull crap like, oh, yeah, we working through some things. You working through some things, huh? No, working through some things was when you fired Jimmy Johnson back in the day after he won you a couple of Super Bowls. That was working through some things. This is just god-awful. This is what this is. God-awful football. Here's the deal. If they didn't have a star on the side of their helmet, we would be giving them the Cleveland Browns treatment right now. We'd be giving them the Cincinnati treatment. Oh, but they're America's team. Hey, slack up a little bit. So, I guess when you're the American team, you get to go around here and play Pop Warner football instead of NFL football because you can't tackle. You run around here looking like you need to learn the fundamentals. You're out here stinking up the joint, ratings through the floor, and it's fine. It's America's team. They'll be back. Dak could be back. Oh, Zeke, he just had a case of the yips. He just, what I'm saying? No need to panic. Look, let me tell you something about Dallas last night. Do you know their most expensive players last night didn't do jack crap last night? I'm talking about DeMarcus Lawrence. He didn't do much. Amari Cooper, he showed up during garbage time. Oh, what about Zeke? Well, Zeke, he fumbled a couple times, and he ran for that whopping 49 yards. Oh, okay. Wow. Ain't that something? Now that's something. Oh, I'm gonna tell you the highest priced dude that showed up last night was Jalen Smith. That was the highest priced dude that showed up. And listen, 38 points later, you might say, what's the definition of showing up? But either way, that's the guy. That's the highest priced guy that showed up last night. So you mean to tell me all these dudes got paid before Dak, and then Dak go out here, season-ending injury, and then these other expensive guys that you didn't spend money on, that's the performance you get out of them. I'm just saying, this is why when players think they deserve to get paid, this is what you go look at. You look at stuff like this, and I don't know, but I'm tired of Dallas getting all these excuses. Mike McCarthy, it's his first year. I don't want to hear that. Aaron Rodgers ain't want to hear it either. Like, nobody want to hear that first year. Nah, he a Super Bowl winning coach. He got the championship pedigree. Yeah, okay, that's cool too. And listen, one thing the Cardinals show and is something that I've been saying for these other teams: go out, get you a young coach that can speak the same language as these young players, and I guarantee you, at some point, you're gonna grow fruit. I'm not saying it's gonna be forever, and I'm not saying it's gonna be overnight, but at some point you're gonna grow fruit from that tree. Cliff Kingsbury can speak the same language as Kyler Murray, and you're seeing both of them in year two, they're growing together. This is exactly what I was saying about Atlanta. Exactly what I was saying about Atlanta, what they might want to do since they're gonna tear it down and rebuild it evidently. I don't want to see no more recycling old dinosaurs, I don't want to see that. Don't go hire these old coaches that's speaking the same bull crap they were speaking back in the 80s. It's the game that changed. It didn't change. Like let's call it what it is. This is not the same NFL from the 90s. It's not. This is fireworks, folks. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, listen, I don't know what's up with the Cowboys, but I'm tired of them being on primetime TV. I'm telling you that right now. They need to be on the big noon kickoff. That's where they need to be at. I'm sick of seeing the Cowboys on primetime TV. And as far as the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals do deserve some love. And like I said, keep your eye on them, man. That's a team for the future.
Again, one more note on Zeke. I don't think this has ever happened so far in his career. He's yet to crack 100 yards through 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so on that front, you asked what are the questions about what's so wrong with the Cowboys. Well, they're not very good. I don't think that's a big surprise. But one of the reasons they're not very good, and this is number one, is their turnover margin is the worst in the NFL. It's -12. They have 15 giveaways and just 3 takeaways. Now, how are they having all those giveaways, you might ask? Well, they have 9 of those are fumbles. 4 of them have come from Zeke Elliott. He has 7 in his last 13 games. And Ed Werder on Twitter even took this a step further. He has more fumbles lost this year than all their top 10 rushers in the NFL combined, despite a margin difference of 900 touches. This Zeke fumbling problem is not just recently either. This goes back to even 2018. 9 skill players in the NFL have had over 600 touches. He leads them all with 14 fumbles. He lost 7 of those. And only Chris Carson of the Seahawks is even close. Like everyone else, like Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon and some other big guys that have gotten a lot of touches, they're like 4. So that's a big problem, obviously, when you think, okay, well, one, he's getting paid like $90 million. You probably don't want him fumbling nonstop. But it's really like what Jay was alluding to as far as the game planning purpose goes. You would think that's what they want to do. Well, hey, let's go feed Zeke because we don't have Dak anymore. But he put the ball on the ground twice in that game. It fundamentally ended the game for the Cowboys. I mean, they got the huge 14-0 hole. I mean, they played well in the first quarter. I mean, it was a tied game. And then he put the ball on the ground twice, and all of a sudden the defense started pressing. They started blitzing. They were trying to do something because the offense wasn't doing anything except puking the ball up. And then Andy Dalton's out here throwing interceptions in the second half. It to me, and to even Zeke himself said, I lost the game for us. It's on me. Well, you're the dude now, man. This isn't gonna fly, and it's a big problem for the Cowboys. If they fix that, I mean, you would think this team wouldn't be terrible. Like they could at least win the NFC East, which isn't much, but it's something. But the other problem the Cowboys are having is the defense is not very good, and you have to remember this is a team that signed a lot of free agents, a lot of guys off the scrap heap. Dontari Poe, Alden Smith, Clinton Dix, Everson Griffin, and Alden Smith's one of those dudes that have really showed up in any meaningful way. You didn't pay Byron Jones, and he'd be nice to have right now when Christian Kirk's running 80 yards down the field and DeAndre Hopkins is running 60 yards down the field for touchdowns. I mean, he might be nice to have back there, so that's a problem. Those are the biggest things the Cowboys have is just a lot of those kind of stopgap guys they signed didn't hit, and they cannot stop giving the ball away. And real quick, let's show some love also. Part of this Arizona defense, remember the draft? We all said that Isaiah Simmons was the pick because, this defense was really bad. They had a lot of holes, and he was going to help fix them. He hasn't even really been all that great so far. He's kind of been a slow roll, and not knocking him, but it's not like he's came in and just blown it out of the water. You know what I mean? But also, we'll note they didn't have Chandler Jones this game. He's out for the season-ending neck surgery, I believe. And, we all know how good he can rush the passer. He's out, and they still had this kind of performance. And Budda Baker won it on this one. 4-year, $59 million contract in the offseason, highest paid safety in NFL history. He had 7 solo tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, a pass defense, a forced fumble, and a pick last night. So good for him and good for the Cardinals, who look pretty good right now.